Happy Monday, October 21st, 2024, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. And in this video, we're going to be talking about unseasonably warm temperatures that continue into this late October across the United States and Canada. We're also going to be talking about some severe weather that is looming across the middle of the country. And we're going to be diving into Tropical Storm Oscar in the Western Atlantic Ocean and a look ahead at your Halloween forecast. So an action-packed forecast for you here today, so make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video down below by giving it a thumbs up, and of course leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll always get to those after my videos. So what you're looking at here currently is the GOES satellite imagery here on this early week on Monday, and you can see we have a low pressure system that has developed on the front range of the Rockies in eastern Colorado and into the western plains. We have some precipitation ongoing across southwestern Canada and the northwest United States, and we have Tropical Storm Oscar down here making landfall in eastern Cuba before moving away from North America later on this week. Let's first talk about the weather closer to home here. This morning, temperatures did start off a lot more mild compared to what we have been seeing the past few mornings, starting off in the 40s over here into the lower Ohio Valley, maybe a few upper 30s from Charleston, West Virginia, back toward the Lexington region, for example. Starting off in that 37, 38, 39 degree range. Further west, though, even into the central Rockies, the higher elevations starting off in the teens and the 20s. And look at the warm-up we have in store for this afternoon. You can see temperature anomalies across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, even southeastern Canada that will respectively be 20, 30, even 35 degrees above the norm for this time of year. So that is absolutely respectable for late October standards, and we could be nearing record highs, if not breaking some record highs this week, including today. This afternoon, highs in the mid 80s all the way up here into the upper Midwest. We could be pushing into the low 80s, 82 degrees in the Twin Cities region at Minneapolis, St. Paul, 83 in places like Rockford, Illinois, 78 in St. Louis, and 83 in Tulsa down here in Oklahoma as well this afternoon. And looking at the overall big picture here of the weather pattern this week from today all the way through Friday, October 25th, and we've been talking about this for quite some time, the cold air aloft is going to be bottled up to the north here, and then we have more zonal flow from the eastern Pacific Ocean across the lower 48 and also southern Canada and then into the western Atlantic, and that flattens out the jet stream. So it's kind of a thing is, you know, what you see is what you get type of thing. Lots of sunshine with obviously a high pressure system. You see lots of sinking air, lots of sunshine, and that's what we see as we go through the week is sunshine, but also the sun will go to work and it will warm up the pavement and the ground very nicely as we go through the rest of the work week. Look at Tuesday afternoon. We are seeing record highs, low 90s down here, upper 80s, for example, in the southern plains. We see that continuing. A lot of records being broken in Oklahoma here and the Lone Star State of Texas, over into Arkansas, maybe western Tennessee Wednesday afternoon. We will have a cold front dropping down from Canada into the upper Midwest Great Lakes on Wednesday, so that may briefly cool us down for a day or so on Wednesday before starting to see that rebound back from the south as we go into Thursday, warming us up again in the upper Midwest, and that'll just continue with that cycle through your Friday time frame later this week. And let's look at the storm system that has been kind of causing some problems across the United States here in some localized areas. From this past weekend on Saturday, October 19th, we did actually see some wind and hail reports, mainly localized, confined to southeastern New Mexico, but we also saw that up into eastern Colorado and the western Texas Panhandle yesterday on Sunday, October 20th, and that actually brought out more of those wind and hail reports. Thankfully, no tornadoes have been reported. But that cutoff low pressure system, you know, the main jet streams further up to the north in central and northern Canada, this is cut off from the main flow in the jet stream. So it's been moving very slowly, only going from Arizona to western Kansas in a 2 to 3 day period. And it's across the central plains today. You can see a lot of spin there. The brighter the color, the more spin there is in the atmosphere. That would be our low pressure system. And looking at the storm energy, this is your convective available potential energy the storms could tap into today. It's not very high, not like the springtime like April and May, but you could see some values creeping up near 2,000 joules per kilogram in some very localized areas of Nebraska down into central Kansas, and that's the very area where we have to watch. The Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma has already outlined this area with a level 1 to a level 2 out of 5 here in the dark green and yellow shaded color respectively. The greatest risk is from southern Nebraska into central Kansas, and this could carry a localized hail threat, some quarter size, maybe $half size hail out there at times, some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts here in the brown shaded color from Nebraska down into parts of Kansas, western Oklahoma, and the eastern Texas panhandle, but also a localized tornado threat as well. So if you live in Grand Island, the Kearney area, Hastings, all the way down into Hill City, Hays, Kansas, Salina, Great Bend, all the way down to Pratt, Kansas there in central Kansas, we could be seeing maybe a brief isolated tornado or two with some of these storms trying to rotate later on today. So that's what we're going to see across the middle of the country. Otherwise, some unsettled weather across the Pacific Northwest this afternoon, some snowfall up there in the northern provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba today as well. That'll be piling up. That low pressure system that's bringing the snow up there will swing a cold front down across the upper Midwest by Tuesday and Wednesday, briefly cooling us down as we mentioned earlier on in the video, and then that warm up here, another low pressure system developing perhaps in South Dakota or northern Nebraska Thursday. That will allow a southerly component to the wind to blow from south to north, warming us back up, but also getting us some scattered showers here in the lower elevations, maybe some scattered snow showers in the higher elevations of Wyoming, and then that could bring some rain into areas that desperately need it really across the Midwest Great Lakes on Friday briefly, and then high pressure behind that with, again, sun-splashed skies to end the work week. And over the next 24 hours, here are the rainfall totals, and it's really not that much across southern Canada or the United States. The most rainfall we could see is probably the Portland area in Oregon, maybe up to an inch of rain over the next 24 hours. Here's the next week. This goes through Saturday, October 26th, and the heaviest rains, no surprise here, that the jet stream is going to be further to the north in Canada. That's where the most precipitation will be, and the axis of precipitation will be there across the northern and central U.S., but this will be more of the late week variety, Thursday into Friday that we're talking about. And this could add up maybe inch of rain for the Hawkeye State of Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, into central lower Michigan for that time frame. And, you know, we'll take any rain we can get at this point, anywhere across the United States. We have a lot of drought ongoing. This is this past Thursday's drought outlook. This new Thursday drought outlook this week may actually look a lot worse than this because we're really not seeing that much rainfall on the maps as we go over the next 5 to 7 days, unfortunately. Looking at snowfall prospects, while we could have some snow in western, northwest Colorado and those higher elevations of the Rockies for some of the ski resorts out there, really not seeing any game in town for snow unless you go up to southern Canada, and even that is pretty scarce, only seeing a couple of inches there. The heavier snows are going to be up here into Alaska over the next 24 hours, where we could be seeing maybe a couple feet of snow in the higher elevations of Alaska, and that'll be really piling up through the week up there as well. We could be seeing 2 to 4 feet of snow as we go into Alaska there, and maybe even the coastline of British Columbia and Yukon up there as well as we go through the weekend. Maybe a couple more inches of snow for Idaho, western Montana, western Wyoming, and Colorado going through the weekend too. Let's look ahead to Halloween. You know, we got a big holiday coming up. This is next Thursday, on Thursday, October 31st. Right now, early indications show that we have a trough. This is a trough, a low pressure system across the west, and then we got the ridge, high pressure system across the east. And what this is naturally going to do is, obviously with the trough, you have more cloud cover, unsettled weather that will cool us down. So we could have a little bit of a cooler spell of air dropping from Canada into the western part of the United States and maybe as far as the western plains, and then warmer than normal air. The unseasonably warm temperatures will just continue across the east, eastern Canada, the eastern U.S. going into the Halloween time frame. And just looking on average what the high temperatures will be, this is just a model average of several model outputs into one, and you can see the warmest will be out west, the coolest the warmest out east, the coolest will be across the west as we go into Halloween. And right now, precipitation prospects prospects going through the Halloween time frame. Looking at ensemble guidance, this is what you do when you're looking around 10 days out, because believe it or not, Halloween is 10 days out from now. The European ensemble guidance showing some active weather across the middle of the country around the Mississippi Valley region. That does make sense because we have a cooler air mass out west, warmer air mass out east, and the battle of the air masses will lead to something. Something has to give as we go into Halloween, and somewhere across the middle of the country, precipitation is likely. The GFS ensemble kind of on board, maybe lighter precipitation amounts reflective of that drought, maybe limiting some of that precipitation. And the Canadian ensemble guidance, the CMC, kind of in the same ballpark as the Euro and the GFS to some extent as well. So Halloween may be a little active across the middle of the country. Obviously, we'll fine tune this as we do get closer for you folks, so stick with me on that. Looking at the tropics, the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is still outlining this area here as Tropical Storm Oscar that has made landfall there as a Category 1 80-mile-per-hour hurricane in eastern Cuba yesterday. And you can see very small system here, had a lot of land interaction, but it has a lot of dry air across the northern part of the system into the Bahamas and the western Atlantic. So as the system kind of does that boomerang effect and kind of moves off of Cuba back over the open waters into the eastern Bahamas and then toward Bermuda, it's going to be battling some drier air, but what has it going for it is these ocean temperatures are warm right now. So that's what's keeping it really kind of going, the fuel to the tank, if you will. And as it kind of pulls away and towards Bermuda, notice the ocean temperatures start to cool naturally as you go further north in the Atlantic. So this system is expected to weaken. The National Hurricane Center remains as a tropical storm through midweek, through Wednesday evening as it closes in closer toward Bermuda. We already have tropical storm watches and warnings up for the eastern islands there of the Bahamas. Be keeping an eye on our friends down there in the Bahamas and also Bermuda through the week as well. So today, 1004 millibar, stronger, tropical storm at this moment, bringing some heavier rain to eastern Cuba. Tuesday, this moves into the eastern Bahamas as a 1007 millibars. Notice as it moves further north into the cooler water, the pressure is going to start to weaken very, very quickly. And this system is actually going to become post-tropical by the time we get into later on in the week. And by the time it moves up here in the northwestern Atlantic here, move the clock ahead to Friday on October 25th, we could be seeing some gusty winds up here for our friends in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and New Brunswick. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on eastern Canada there. Nothing too terribly strong, but I think we could be seeing 40, maybe 50 mile per hour wind gusts on some of those areas in eastern Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland as we go in toward Friday later this week. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below for the latest weather information right at your fingertips. Whether it's a video or live stream, we'll keep you covered on here. So make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification button so you have these videos and live streams once I post them. Make sure to press the like button down below by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Monday out there.